Yo, 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 what is going on, New York? Y'all listening to Notes from Underground. Y'all just heard Lucky Sevens, and before that was Roll, and that was 7 out of 10. Froggo's most recent release, most recent album. How we doing, Froggo?
It's been a good week. It's been a good month.
Yeah.
It's getting colder.
Hell yeah. Who else we got now?
I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. The weather's nice, you know. Music is going well.
Good.
Life is good.
Yeah.
Health is good.
Yes.
People are good. Family's good. I can't complain, man. I'm just having a good time of life right now.
We love to hear that, bro. We love to hear that.
Always good.
Let's go with y'all, man. It's your co-host, Grant, man. We also joined by a special co-host today, man.
What up, man? I'm Augie. I'm filling in for Jude.
Y'all know the voice. Y'all know the voice. He's been here many times. We got some others in the studio that y'all definitely know. Dylan Farley might be here. He might be a guest cameo, you know what I'm saying? 4D. But hey, listen, we want to get into this interview. We got a lot of stuff we're curious about. So, I mean, just to start, little background, like, tell me about a few artists that you really fuck with that you maybe grew up on that influenced your work. Tell us about.
So, I think easy low-hanging fruit is Kanye. My dad had like one of his, like, he didn't have many songs on like his iTunes, but like one of them he had, I was off for graduation, so I got to play a lot of that, like on airplanes and stuff with my little iPod Touch. So that definitely inspired a lot of what I end up producing now. And then kind of as I grew, you know, you kind of learn more artists that inspire you a lot. Young Thug is another artist that I, you know, just pulled a lot from, like early days and stuff. And then production was Metro Boomin, did a lot. Zaytoven. I'm not say recently, it's been a lot of 10K. Shout out Mike. Shout out Nante. Big shout out to Mavi in Charlotte, North Carolina. Like, there's just a lot of artists that have kind of just added to it. So I feel like there wasn't necessarily like one specifically I was like, oh, like latched on and like really got a lot from. It's like all these different pieces and things that I've learned from stuff I listened to, stuff my parents played and everything else, resulted in what I make now. A lot of Nigerian music too.
That is beautiful. So I'm curious, like, you know, you have these influences and stuff, but what pushed you over the edge of like, oh, like I'm consuming this music that I really love to like the point of, oh, I'm going to start making music. What was that?
It just kind of happened. I'll be honest. Like I've been playing piano since I could think. I have no idea when I started, but like my parents just put me on that. And then I think like the first song I made was like some chords from like Party Rock Anthem or something. And that just like became another song. And I just played that until my mom took the piano from me or something. So like that was, I guess, kind of the start, but it's always kind of just felt like, you know, if there's something exists, like I can probably go make that. I think part of that also probably came from my parents, just kind of like, you know, generally being really inspiring, like you can do anything, all that stuff. So it's like, okay, I play piano. I see people, you know, have songs, like there's music that exists. I wonder if I did this and like try to put that together. So it started with production mostly because like coming from instruments, and then over time, you know, it's like, okay, let me learn how to engineer. Let me get more involved in this. Okay, this sounds kind of cool. What if I tried doing this on a mic? And then like, here we are. It's kind of snowball.
Yeah.
Here we are.
That's beautiful.
All right, and tying into that background questions, where are you from?
I'm originally from Land O'Lakes, Florida. Shout out my people, 813. But yeah.
All right.
You know, you just said 813. Shout out 813. So, you know, what does coming out of Florida mean to you? What has that community meant to you? And, you know, Tampa and Florida in general is like a very big and very diverse music scene. So how has that influenced who you are as an artist?
It's like, it's interesting because I wasn't fully thinking about making music when I was still in Florida. I went to school in North Carolina. And so like, I didn't spend a ton of time around like the music scene in Florida, whether that's just because like my parents just I was trying to keep me away from that a little bit. but yeah, it wasn't until I got to college that I really started seeing it as like a path to actually go do something with. I think before that it was just something I was interested in. It was like, you know, something that's like a hobby almost rather than actual pursuit, I think. But I think coming out of Florida, I think the biggest thing that I've gotten from that was that there was just so many people who I met while I was there, while I grew up there, that still like influence what I'm doing now. And so I think like generally speaking, I have like a love-hate relationship with Florida a little bit, just because a lot of stuff that goes on that I'm just not really a big fan of.
Yeah.
It's not too much, but
yeah.
But I think there's some amazing people who have been like a huge part of my music taste, what I listen to, what I'm interested in, like, and what goes into what I develop. Like, you know, prime example is my boy Zay from high school. He was like a couple years older than me, but like he put me on to kind of like a more grittier side of hip hop. And I think like that you know, ended up influencing a lot of what I make now. And like just him being around when I was in high school was a huge part of that. So I still plays out in what I listen to and what I make as well. So I think the biggest thing that I've gotten from Florida has just been like the people who are there, and like all of that is like each time I go write, like I'm probably pulling something from like an experience I had with someone down there. It's like, oh, we had this moment when I was in high school or something, and that's now part of the music, because like back then I was just making beats, so now I can actually look back and be able to translate it through words and speak on it more so, because I didn't do that in the past.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, you know, we kind of talk on the topic of kind of the musical space that you're in and like the influences. I'm curious more so in terms of your musical aesthetic, right? But you also have this visual aesthetic that's definitely present on the Instagram and some of the album covers and things like that. Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, especially in most recent, we have the cover. Y'all may be listening, but the cover of 7 out of 10 is you at a casino, and very, very visually aesthetic. Like, tell us a little more about this aesthetic you go for.
Yeah, so I think there's generally two styles of music I'll tend to fall into. I'm either like doing some kind of trap heavy, synth inspired, like really electronic sounding like rap music, or it'll be like very sample heavy, think like Alchemist or something like that. And I think I wanted those to kind of feel like two different things. And the best way I can like describe it from like a very low level is like that kind of sample side of everything is like very warm colored. So I think like your yellows and oranges and like things like that. And then the other side, that trap side, is very cool, a little darker, smoky. So you get a lot of like blues and purples and everything like that. But still some kind of unity across the two. And so when I was working on this project, I knew that it was going to be something like, even before like I thought of the cover, like had songs, I was like, this is going to sound like something from like Mike Dean's back catalog. So I wanted it to have that kind of feel. And I think as I was working on the tracks, everything just kind of felt hazy almost. It was kind of just like a smoke in all the songs, what I was writing and everything. So that kind of took shape of what I wanted it to be. And then I think once I got the title, it was like, all right, this is talking about like a chance of something happening. Tie that into kind of like chances and cards and like gambling and stuff like that. And it just worked well with like the subject matter of like my girl and everything else. So found a dope photographer and made it happen. He had like a casino table in his basement. Somehow it was crazy. But yeah, I think I want everything to feel like it's part of a world. And like I was just talking about this today, actually. Like I want each like piece of like, if it's like a visual piece of content, like a song or something, I want it to be like a glimpse into the world that like is fully existing. So that way it's less of kind of like these separate entities, but it's like it's all like windows into this larger universe that exists of whatever my music exists in. Not like it's not like, you know, some MCU type or whatever, but just something that feels like it's all connected and not just disparate pieces of content or media or whatever.
That's awesome. And you know, you spoke about how you know, you just said your girl, and so we heard the emotional side of this, you know, of this project. So tell us about that. Who's this girl? Who is your shorty? Like,
I'm not gonna blow my spot up. No, I'm playing. But my girl, her name is Talaja. She's wonderful, and I'm trying to think like where to kind of start with that. Met her, I think like 2021. I want to say sometime junior year. And then they've been together since the end of 2022. Coming up on like 3 years low key, which is dope.
Congratulations.
But yeah, so I think at some point when she was like coming up here and visiting, she was just like, "Oh, we ain't gonna make me an album." And then like in the moment, I was just like, we'll see. Yeah, for sure. I was like, I don't think I'm doing that. Shit. But I think like the idea kind of stuck with me, and then like at the same time, I knew I wanted to kind of push this electronic sound a little bit more. It's like my other album I dropped last year, Oasis, had some like hints of that, and I feel like those songs were really cool and it turned out nice. So I knew I wanted to kind of blend that and like dive into it a little more. And then like there was that happening. There was like my girl asked me to make her album, and then like I think it was the hook on "Tell Me," I think just kind of like appeared one day in my head. I was like, oh, this could work with all these different ideas. And then the album just kind of got created from there. And like evolved into kind of like this story and progression of our relationship, which is really cool.
That's awesome. That's beautiful.
So talking about before, when we were talking about the like visual style and choices and atmosphere that you had with this project, what is the production inspiration? Who produced it? I noticed in a lot of the songs, it was like I don't know if it was a drum sample, but like a really kicking drum line, like a drum loop over like some like ambient heavy synths. And I noticed that in like a lot of the songs. So like, what was the production inspiration? Shout out the producer. Like, yeah.
Producer was me.
Yes.
So it was me. But yeah, I think a large inspiration was there's quite a few. I think The Weeknd is a really heavy one in terms of the kind of beats he picks from, especially like back to what he was doing with Trilogy a lot. Like that really darker and kind of heavier synth work he was doing. But yeah, he does a lot of it now with like this album he's done as well. So like he's not like he stopped, but definitely him. Billie Eilish as well. Like I listened to her last like Hit Me Hard and Soft, I think is what's called. I played that album like a surprising amount. Like if you had told me a couple years ago I was gonna be playing Billie Eilish as heavy as I did, like I'd look, you think you crazy, but that was a really good album. And I think a lot of that production just had like, I think the like very high highs and then the lows also hit in terms of like sonics and how the production kind of ebbed and flowed. It wasn't, you know, terribly steady. Like it would take you all the way up here and then drop you back down somewhere else. And I think that those kind of extremes I really wanted to emphasize in what I was working on. And so like those contrasts come about in how the drums are almost always like really punching, or I'm trying to like get them up as much as I can. And then I'll let the melody just kind of dance around a little bit because I knew I was going to be more melodic with the delivery as well. So I didn't want to like have too much going on, but I needed to still sound like large. So it was just about kind of creating those larger spaces, I think, with the melodies, and then the drums could kind of just sit within that.
Definitely
had all this room to work with, and then the vocals came in, so it all like comes together, hopefully, you know, in a really kind of grandiose way. At least it feels like larger than life in that sense. But those two for sure, and then Mike Dean, Kanye, still
goats.
And I think another one was, oh my goodness, because I don't want to like start listing out 1,000 people. That'd be like reason. Let's just go with those four. Like definitely like some heavy main ones, and then you know the different ones here and there for specific songs and everything.
No, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we can hear it. We can hear the influences, man, coming through present. Yeah, I think on the new record, in comparison to your last project, the last EP you did, I'd Rather Be in Brazil, definitely a lot more melodic of a sound as opposed to like the more plain voice rap sound. Tell me more about like this direction you're going. I know you kind of mentioned you got these two sides of like the more rappy shit and then also like the more melodic stuff. So like, why did you choose to go with the melodic stuff on this record? And is that like the direction you're going, or just kind of part of the greater artistry?
I think it's part of the greater artistry because I mean I've only been really like seriously making music like my own stuff for maybe a year and a half. So like I think a lot of this is still me figuring out what I want it all to sound like. And through all that, I think my first album Oasis was just me experimenting with a lot of different sounds. I was just trying like if I thought of the idea and I could make it not sound like crap, I would just put it out, and like that would be the album. And then over time, you know, you got through more releases. I think in 2024, I was doing like one release a month. Like I started that in January and I kept that going until June of this year. So it was again just like more songs out, and as much as I could just try a bunch of stuff. And then lately feeling like I'm trying to go through and refine that more. And as I keep refining like what I want it to be, I keep like landing on these two kind of sounds. So, you know, when I first started, I was like, okay, maybe some like trap, maybe a little bit of like some J. Cole sounding beats, like something that sounds like it could be off of like a future project or something. And then like more so now, like, okay, I really enjoy these samples and I love working with this. I also really enjoy a fat bass line and like a synth that sounds like it's from Mars. So like, I don't know how we're going to make this work, but I can't just like, oh, I'm just going to do this, or I'm just going to do that. Like I really enjoy both of those sounds, and it's cool being able to kind of flip the switch almost, because it's like, I'll be working on rap stuff for a minute, like I was doing with I'd Rather Be in Brazil, and like that kind of like more grounded sound. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I've done this for a while. I've got all these ideas for this other sound that I haven't gotten to execute in a while. Let's go do that. And so that's kind of where that switch came in. And then this album lined up with it, and it all made sense to work out at that moment. But definitely just a balance right now, and just figuring out what like that eventual sound is going to be. Maybe I'll blend it at some point. Maybe it'll just be like two separate things, and it's like characters almost. Like this is where one side of Froggo lives, this is where the other's at. So we'll see.
That's really cool, bro. And you know, earlier in the interview you had mentioned Nigeria and, you know, your parents being Nigerian. Shout out. And talking on, you know, all of these different, you know, musical aspects that you're bringing into your music, you know, blending different genres. I do wonder, like, how does Nigerian music, African music, I heard some drums on this track that I was like, yo, this is really giving me that you know, that culture, that vibe. Like, how has that influenced your music? And
I think I really enjoy pockets, and I think there's such a awesome pocket that Nigerian drums and like rhythms live in, and so I'm low-key always trying to find place I can just like add it. So like almost every beat that I'll work on, I'll like have like a set of like Nigerian drum samples, or like there's like a pattern that I usually do, and I'll just go try it, and I'm like, okay, this doesn't sound like the greatest, but I just wanted to see like how this would work, and it's cool when it does work because it's almost surprising. Like, oh, I wouldn't have thought, had I not like been intentional about it, to go try to put these drums here. But now it sounds unique. But I really enjoy just the rhythms that are present in the music, and it's like those type of things that you have to move to. I think those are really cool. Just like how you can have sounds that you can't just like sit still listening to it. At least for me, I don't know. Like, I can't speak, but I feel like it's just is really cool that there's these rhythms that and it's like it's Nigeria, it's Ghana, because it's all these countries in Africa that have their own unique sounds that are still at the same time all like you have to move to this. Like you can't sit through you know, a Congolese song or something and not dance. It's so cool. So I'm always really excited when I can like add it to other styles of music that I'm working on, because I think there's a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of people who I know and work with who aren't familiar with that side of music. So it's always something that gets to kind of bring it out and like, it's like, oh, yo, this, like, listen to this is cool. And yeah, there's also like a ton of UK artists who will like blend that into their own style as well. So it's like, I low-key pull from them a lot because I see how they're doing. Like, okay, yeah, there's people who are making this work. Like, bet, let me try to do this here. Oh, Jim Legacy, Lance Ufo has a lot of the rhythms that he chooses has that kind of bounce to it as well. Femi's another great example. There's I was one of my boy out there. I can't remember his name right now. And I feel horrible. But there's like it's really cool just hearing that sound out of UK music, and just UK music in general is cool. But definitely that.
Yeah. So another specific part about this album, when I was listening to this, I remember I was getting for the like through the first few songs, and I was hearing all these synths and these drum beats, and I got smacked in the face by "I Miss My Baby," that heavy ass synth that kicks in. I was like, whoa, like they kind of like retooled me, and I was like, what is this track, yo? That's for that track. It's fire. But like, talk about that song. What is that? What is the significance of it? Why does it hit so hard?
I think it's really cool, like especially like just hearing this is like this y'all's favorite song, because I think there's a lot of times that I'll think this is like my favorite song, and then like I'll put it out and like people like it, but it's not like it won't be other people's favorites. Yeah. So like it is really cool, like really enjoying this song and then putting it out and seeing like y'all are also enjoying it. So that does mean a lot. Thank you so much.
That has power.
But nah, it's so Lemon Girl 21 started dating her in late 22. That gap of time, you know, was a little up and down, right? Yeah. Nothing crazy. No one was like doing nothing like wild, but you know, it's kind of like two ships. You just like were missing. You know what I'm saying? Just meeting at the wrong time. Natural. So, you know, it was one of those down periods. It's kind of like, it was where I pulled this from necessarily. I didn't write this then, but it was like a down period, and you know, messed it up for myself. Was realizing that afterwards, and that was like, that song was just how it felt. Like it was like this like weird back and forth, I think, in my head of like wanting to, like, understanding what I did was like just my choice, but also like I miss my girl. So it was like definitely a lot of that moment, and like what I was feeling about everything like leading up to that point like went into the song, because I think a lot of this happened and like, you know, life got good, and writing this album was like having to go back there and then like pull from like those different moments. And I low-key had like voice memos and like journals and entries and stuff from like when I was in that time. So it was cool to like go back to those and then actually see how I was feeling, because then I could just take that and bring it to the present and actually talk about it. But yeah, I genuinely just missed my girl. Like it was dark. I don't know how else to describe it, bro. And like I just wanted to put that into the song and like really make that come across. And I'm glad I could do it. Yeah.
No, that track is raw. That track is raw. I mean, you touched on it briefly earlier, but I want a little more. So you said 7 out of 10 refers to a possibility, a chance, right? Yeah. Tell us, I mean, you have like this whole like casino gambling vibe on a few of the tracks. You got what do we got? We got Roll and Lucky Sevens. And then you got the whole cover, which is you with some cards at a table. So tell us about, what is 7 out of 10? Like, what exactly does it represent? Why 7? Yeah. And then yeah, the little casino.
So the first Valentine's Day I took my girl, this was like before we were like officially dating. We just like we went to this spot out in Carborough, Durham. I forget specifically where North Carolina it was at. But shout out Ray's, great restaurant. Went there, left, we were in the car back, and I was like, yo, like, how was your night? You have a good night? And she was just like, no, it's all right. You know, it was a 7 out of 10. But like, she was like being sarcastic about it, and like she like had a great time. So that ended up being like an inside joke for them. And she was like everything that was like elite. It was like, I don't know, it was 7 out of 10. It was straight. It was whatever. And so like
that's cute
for the album. Like I was like, when I was working, I'm like, this has to be called 7 out of 10. Like there's no way I can't call it this. Like for the joke, like she's gonna get it, it's gonna be cool, or whatever. But I think it also like really worked well with the rest of what I was talking about on the album, especially as I kept working through it, because it was like those kind of ups and downs I was talking about. Like I think when I was reflecting on it, I was like, no, this very easily could have gone a completely different direction, and like, you know, we wouldn't be together. Yeah. Like it was just like how everything's played out. There was a chance that both of us kind of had to take at a certain point to kind of make it work, and you know, here we are, and it's going quite well. So I think for the project, or like walking through songs kind of like Tell Me and Touch and I'm So Baby and everything else, it was like kind of breaking down how the situation was playing out, and then getting to more Middle of the Ocean and The Fear and Roll, all those songs kind of feeling more about getting more comfortable with kind of taking the chance on the relationship and like making things work out the way, you know, we wanted to. So that all kind of played into, as I was writing it, it became more clear like that it just plays into the title really well. And then like it all ties together in this idea of just like taking a chance and making sure that this was something that could work. And I'm really glad I took the chance. I'm glad she did as well. You know, it's cool now, but yeah. And then I think for the casino and everything else, it just kind of made sense. I think after with the production, with how it all ended up sounding, with what I ended up talking about, like in terms of like the themes and the lyrics and everything else. I think it was like, it felt like at a certain point before, like when we were getting into it, it was like, cool, this is me just kind of putting all the chips in, you know. I was like, all right, let's just see what happens. Cause I think I started dating her, I was about to move to New York, I think a couple months later. So it was also like, we just about to get in a relationship. I'm about to go a distance away. You about to be in a whole other state. Yeah. So it was like all those different factors. And I just feel like cool, we're just going to put every chip on the table. Let's just see where it goes. And it's turned out quite well. So 7 out of 10 felt like a good way to describe how everything resulted in the end.
No, that's a beautiful title.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you got a single nigga over here in his future.
Listen, it can happen to me, it can happen to you.
That's beautiful, bro. That's beautiful. I guess, you know, one thing, you know, moving on from, you know, just all the work that you've done, where do you see yourself as an artist in the next 2 years, in the future? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to, who is Froggo in 2 years?
That's a good question. I think I definitely want to be more realized, I think, as an artist for myself, in terms of like what I want things to be. And I think I'm hoping, like, I always want to be someone experiment. I want to be someone who's like trying out new stuff. But I think in 2 years, I want to be even more solidified in like who I am as an artist. You know, because at that point, hopefully been rapping and making music for, you know, a couple years at that point. And I think I see myself as somebody who's comfortable in the sound, comfortable in what they're going to put together and the type of, you know, packages, for lack of a better word, that they're putting out. I think I see myself just like being like meticulous. Just like, I think there's like, I think it's like a Tyler quote or something where it's like, you got to create like a child and edit like a surgeon. And so I think I really push myself to kind of live to that and want to make sure like everything is just like tight. Like, you know, like you watch like professional dancers, like ballerinas or something, like everything's pinpoint. Like they're every hit is where it needs to be. They land exactly where it's got to be, like all that stuff. And so I think I really want it to be like, I've dialed all this in to the point where now it's muscle memory. Like I'm not having to like, obviously, you know, you work and improving and learning things all the time, but it's like we're executing these moves consistently. Like the same way a professional athlete doing the same thing, like just taking that to the next level. So it's like the freestyles, the flow, the raps, the beats, the engineering, all of it. Like this is all coming together now, even more cohesive and even more like tightly put together. Because I think that just all makes for a better experience to get the message across. You know.
Yeah.
So definitely that, and then hopefully more shows. Hopefully that's the reason. Not even hope.
We will be looking sure. Definitely. And with 7 out of 10, kind of going back a little bit, but what audience, because we're talking about how there was a switch up of kind of like where you went from more of like this rap centered project, right? Mm-hmm. So now this more kind of weekend R&B soul singing project. What audience are you catering to? What was the message with it? Is that just the vibe you were feeling?
I think for this specific album it's tough because I think when I was making it, I was literally just making it for my girls. Like I didn't really have a specific audience in my mind, but I think as a whole, I want my music to be for people who are, I don't even know how to put it. It's like I want it to be for people who are taking a step out for themselves. So I think for me, there's not a ton of people in my family, if any, who are doing like creative work like that. I'm a firstborn child. I went to school, studied something that, I mean, like not even study something, but just like a lot of things that I've done, I've just been like close to the first in my family, like pretty much like the first one to go ahead and do it. And so a lot of the different decisions I've made, whether it's like coming up to the city, working on music, even like something simple. Like I was pre-med and then I switched to go be a computer scientist, just like out of nowhere. And it's like those type of like chances taken on myself, I think have paid off. And so I think the music kind of reflects that. Like I want this to be for people who are willing to do that for themselves, whatever field it is, whether it's like, you know, you doing something with school, you doing some of your creative passions, you doing something just like with your family or whatever. Like I think I want my audience to be people who are comfortable within that and are navigating that for themselves, and like the difficulties that come with having to step out a little bit, whatever predetermined box may be in. Yeah. But like are willing to go do that. And I think the music reflects that, and like that back and forth between something that sounds like it came off like a Freddie Gibbs album and then something that sounds like it came off a Mike Dean track. Like I think being able to execute both adequately is the goal, because I think it's a good reflection of just that kind of back and forth inability to take those steps for myself.
Wow, y'all just heard some wisdom. Damn,
bro.